Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to our third online meetup, which is on building conversational AI using Azure Bot Framework. And I'm Shubham, so currently working as a program manager at Skillenza. We've planned a series of 4 online meetups, which will help you to upskill your knowledge on AI on Azure. So, for today's session, we have Navajyoti, who's AVP Technology Lead Architect at Synergetics. Before we get started with our session, I'd just like to tell you a bit about ourselves, like what Skillenza is and what do we do, and then I'll just walk you through the agenda of today's webinar. So we are basically a challenge learning platform. So the platform is for professional and organization. So we help basically organization to hire good developers with the relevant talent, and so these are the rewards which you get when you come to our platform by signing up for hackathons or the other job opportunities we have. So the flow for the meetup would be, we'll start off with our speaker session. Post this, we'll have a Q&A for 10 minutes. And after that, we'll be inviting one of our winners of Avengers Hack Night, who will be demonstrating and sharing their experience on how did they build their project. Uh, Now over to you, Navajyoti. Please carry on with your session.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Hope everybody can hear me, including you.
Yeah.
All right. So good to go then. So let me bring my PPT. So just give me a minute. Okay, so you have to give me the permission to share my screen. I think
I'll just
so. I'm not able to share my screen.
okay. Yes.
Uh,
I've made you the host, so I guess you can now share your screen,
Now I
Navajyoti.
can. Yes, now I can.
Hello.
Also, I'd request the participants to keep their mics on mute.
Yeah. So and one more thing. So please. Put off your videos because otherwise it will eat the bandwidth. So it may interrupt in between. So, okay. I can see the video also. The couple of people's video is on. So please put off the video. So we are good to go. Okay, so good evening to all of you. This is Navajyoti Borua, and I'll be speaking on, as you can see, the topic building chatbot using Microsoft Bot Framework. And just to let me set the context for today's the topic, what I am going to do. So I'll go and talk about the kind of framework which has come out from the Microsoft to develop the bot as an application, the AI application, and how we can host that bot application as a service on Microsoft Cloud Platform. So the series of webinar that we are doing, it is driven by Microsoft Cloud Services. Essentially, we need to align with that. So whatever application, intelligent application, AI application that would be developed, ultimately we are going to host or deploy that applications back on the cloud platform. And that is Microsoft Azure. So the quick introductions about me. I worked as an AVP technology at Synergetics, and I have been associating with Microsoft for last couple of years in multiple technology areas, right from a platform as a service, modernizing applications and migrating existing applications back to the cloud and make them up and running at the same time, infusing intelligence to the application. So like cognitive service and the bot or Q&A makers, uh, in your order to make your application more intelligence, that you can delegate the human task to the intelligent application. So these are kind of, and yes, all the applications that I'm talking about, it is going to deploy it on the cloud platform. So two things that we would be aware of during this session: one, cloud as a platform, and other, how the bot framework allow us to develop the chatbot and in order to deploy them back on the cloud platform. So let's begin with quick understanding about the bot. I think the people who are attending today's session, probably more or less, they may come across the bot application, so it is like all the applications today, irrespective of a particular domain, like, talking about it could be e-commerce or maybe retail or maybe, the healthcare or maybe customer service. In everywhere you can see how the bot is being implemented, as a virtual assistance to the end user, end customer. Now, essentially, when you talk about a bot as an application, it's a simple, tiny part of an AI implementation. So what does it mean? It means a bot is responsible for answer your queries up to a certain level, and after that it would be delegated to the human if the bot is not going to go and understand or maybe not able to go back and resolve your queries, something like that. But bot is an independent application that could be developed by using multiple languages. At this moment, we would be talking about the Microsoft bot development framework. So what come along with the bot development framework in order to write a bot? So it is primarily designed to understand the Microsoft framework. So I'm saying that the bot can be developed using heterogeneous technology and the framework. But here in this particular sessions, we are aligned with the Microsoft technology along with the cloud computing. So context has to be right upfront. All right. So as I said, the definition of the bot application. So the bot is going to offer you a canvas and you can start talking to the bot, and it can be integrated with multiple channels like Facebook or maybe uh, Cortana or maybe SMS or a WhatsApp or multiple channel through which the bot can be integrated, and the bot can communicate to the end user and the end customer. Either it could be kind of the Q&As or whatever is. So as I said, today's applications becoming more demanding day to day. It is not like doing a traditional job. So application need to respond pretty quickly, or 24/7. So if you ask something to an application, the application has to respond you as quickly as possible. So how the first level communications would be done with an application or a business? And this is really important in today's context, because today's business are more dynamic than before. We talk about a lot of compute intensive application, or maybe we can say critical application in context of business. So we have seen, in couple of years from now that, bot would be an inherent part of going forward with all those applications that we would be developing in the near future. So your one of the component would be definitely a bot, who can deal with the customer with the first level before we get into the level 2. So it could be a Q&A, it could be, finding something from, the backend domain to make it available to you, or maybe it may be something that you are not able to figure out to make yourself comfortable on a particular product. All those things, the virtual assistants you are going to get from every single application that you are going to develop from now onwards. So that's why today we are talking about bot framework. So how important in today's context, and you can go back and start looking at or start finding different articles, how the bot is helping business applications to get the productivity on track any given point in time. So how this communication happen? In fact, I said that, the bot is an application. So you're going to develop using a set of libraries or set of SDK, or maybe, maybe a kind of framework. Since we'll be talking about the bot framework right from Microsoft, we are going to see how we can develop a bot and how we can deploy that developed bot back in the cloud platform. But what essentially, as I say, the user, you and me, is going to interact with the bot through a particular channel. So you get a canvas through that particular channel, and then you start interacting with the bot. And in the backend of the bot, it is not just the interface applications who is talking to you, but in the backend of an application, the backend for a bot could be really robust, you know. So you can go and call cognitive service from Microsoft Azure or cognitive service from different vendors who can do, who can infuse a bit of intelligence in the bot itself. Like, for example, what kind of service that I'm talking about. So maybe saying that, okay, I'm looking for a particular a metadata from a particular image that I'm given to the bot. So bot has to tell me what is there in that image, what is there in the picture. So what bot will go back, and bot will go back and call an API who can actually tell the metadata that will come out of that particular uploaded image. So bot may not be capable of delivering everything is being asked by the end user any given point in time. Bot will go back and make a call to the underlying API. That would be a cognitive service, or maybe algorithms that is written in machine learning, which is being trained by you to give a respective output in context of a particular business. But yes, so there would be a lot of robust API or maybe robust kind of services the bot is going to consume. So it could be a Q&A, it could be a Lewis language understanding, the service from the cognitive families, and so on and so forth. So there are many more is going to come up along with the bot. It's not just a writing a set of code in a bot and make them up and running. So the bot also has limitation in order to interact with the end user. And those limitations can be addressed by calling underlying cognitive service. So cognitive service is a different set of services from the Microsoft Azure, Microsoft Cloud Computing, who deliver a lot of, kind of capabilities or functionalities without writing the explicit code from the developer end. So you just need to ask what you want. You go and call a cognitive service, your job is done. So bot also keep going and keep calling those cognitive service in order to interact with the user by understanding what the user is asking any given point in time. I said it could be a domain to domain because every domain will have a different set of guidelines on what basis the bot would be created, how the bot will go and help the end user in different contexts. Like, for example, you want to operate a product, but you do not know how to operate that particular product, how to start with that particular product. So you need some kind of virtual training or virtual input. So bot can help you to do that. So we do not have to ask somebody to sit behind you or in front of you to tell you what to do, but the bot can instruct you and you can follow and you can definitely operate that product that you bought for the first time. So nevertheless, I mean, but we have to understand how robustness the bot development would be. And I will, because it is just a 40 minutes or 45-minute session. So I'll quickly, walk you through a few tools and few technology and to just to quickly, you know, uh, show you that how this bot can be developed using Microsoft, the framework. So as I said, the applications moving or maybe the evolutions in the bot context in an existing AI application is becoming really, really a complex day by day. So I talked about cognitive service, or I talk about Q&A maker, I talk about Luis, and so on and so forth. These are the different terms which is being extensively used in today's in AI world. And that is being interconnected with the bot application that we are going to develop. So coming straight back to the point, what we're supposed to discuss, as I said, Microsoft bot framework. So what goes in there? So Microsoft has come up with a set of SDK. The developer can subscribe to the SDK, and they can make use of one of the language like Node.js or C# going forward and writing the bot application. And this SDK is on GitHub. So it is a community driven, which is being monitored by Microsoft. But yes, it is something which is being contributed by the community developer. So you are going to get all the libraries that is consumed or maybe used from the bot application or maybe a sample bot application, so on and so forth. You can get all of them from the GitHub itself. Now, in order to test a bot, so they said, okay, a bot is going to go and deployed in a deployment environment. We do not know what would be the environment at this moment when you develop something. So we don't target directly to a deployment environment any given point in time. So what we know that, how to develop the bot applications, we just need to go and subscribe the SDK. We need to get into the kind of IDE, integrated development environment like Visual Studio in context of Microsoft technology. In Node.js, maybe something else. So we know how to get in there and how to start creating application or, in respective language. But before we take it to the production environment, before you take it to the kind of, or maybe in our context, it would be in Azure where we are going to deploy the bot. So I can go and test the bot by installing an emulator. So emulator is a kind of environment. So emulate the real environments where we can go and test my bot. So whether my bot is functioning, what I supposed to see out of the bot, So once I'm confident what the bot is or how the bot is running in the emulators, and then probably we can think of getting this bot to the production environment or integrate it with the existing applications to make your applications AI based. And this as SDK and development environment and emulator is going to give more control because it is going to be with you. It would be a development system where you are going to run the emulators, where you are going to test the bot. That is something what we are talking about. In other end, we go with the Azure bot service. Now, the two things that we have been talking about, the cloud platform, the Microsoft cloud platform, because that is the context of this today's session. At the end of the day, we'll talk about that cloud platform in detail. But yes, when you go into the cloud platform like Microsoft Azure, you get to see a lot of services and all the services managed by Microsoft in the respective data center, which is spread across the globe. But what is important for us going with the Microsoft bot services? The first thing that we don't need our infrastructure to develop the bot service or bot application. So application is moved as a service. So it's a pay as you go, as long as you want that service to run on the cloud platform, so you are okay with that. The moment you said, no, from tomorrow, I don't need that particular service to be deployed under my subscription. So you can remove that. And day after tomorrow, you can bring it back. So it's a kind of disposable computing going with the other service along with the bot. So like other service also from Microsoft Azure, the concept would be the same. So because as I said, the Microsoft Azure is not going to offer you only one service. There are 100 services that you are going to see from the Azure. So integration with the bot, with the respective services or relevant services in context of developing bot would be near real time. So you are going to consume them right next to you, from the same subscription, from the same data center, from the same geographic location. And the last point about the Microsoft Azure bots, it's scalability. We can talk about how can you scale out the bot service, because today maybe bot service is being called by 2 end user or maybe 100 end user. Maybe day after tomorrow, it can increase to a 10,000 user who start consuming the same bot service. Same UI, they are going to get it. So now if I have to respond to the 20,000 or 100,000 user at the same time, it is not possible to run my bot service in a single instance. I need to increase the number of instances. So that is something we call as a scale out. So, but yes, technically, if I go and increase the number of instances, we need to pay for all. So if I'm paying $1 for one instance, so 100 instance that if I want to deploy from the same bot service, then we have to pay $100. It's a straight calculations that we are going to see. So, but at the end of the day, the benefit that we get out of the bot, Azure bot service, is a managed service. We don't practically do anything like what we do in on-premise. All are built-in template that you are going to get. You can do the coding right there, or you can do the coding on-premise and pump your code back to the Azure bot service anytime from now. And the pay as you go, as you said, and most importantly, working with the scalabilities. When do we want to scale out? And that is important, and it can be done automatically. You don't have to sit back in front of the bot service and to do the scale out. That can be configured based on some metrics, and any given point in time, it will increase from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and 3 to 4. Or it can be bring it back to the 1, because if the load is less, then you don't need multiple instances. So you can take it back to the original number from where you have started scaling out. Right. So when you talk about working with, we will be just quickly getting into the demo now. So just to quick the workflow, like how this workflow started with the interacting with the bot. So any kind of communications that we do with the bot is called as an activity. This is called as an activity. I said, okay, hello bot, and the bot is going to answer me, how are you, or something like, how can I help you, or something like that. This would be an activity, and all these activities can be exchanged in a form of JSON. So what I have asked to a bot, it will go in a form of JSON, and what is being responded by bot, it will come back to me as a JSON. In some time from now, we are going to see that how this JSON is going to, it's a lightweighted, simple text document where the data would be embedded, and they will exchange those data between the end user and the bot at the end of the day. So we will be looking at, maybe the JSON specific to the channel through which I am communicating with the bot, or maybe the what exactly I'm trying to communicate the bot. That would be an activities coming right from the bot, and so on and so forth. But yes, the activity is something that we need to know. These are technical terms, a kind of communications to inform to the bot. There may be a different types of activities, as you can see on the screen. So it could be a message, like represent a communications between the bot and the user. That is called one message activity as the type of an activity. So I'm messaging between, the end user and the bot. So contact relation. So we do not want to get into the detail of that, but I'm just walk you through the list of activities the bot is going to use any given point in time. So there would be a kind of, the definitions and implementation. So to learn all of them together will take some time, but it is just a simple walkthrough that I just want to take you through. Nothing more than that. So we can't go and start explaining in given time in order to implement or deep dive on those activity type. So there are activities, as you can see on the screen. But yes, so as you start developing your bot, then you will get to know how it can be done, or how you're supposed to make use of those activity to do different things, or to differently interact with your bot development using Microsoft framework or Microsoft the environment. All right. So that is something that we can put them together. So you can write a text that would be a value for a particular activity that you are trying to communicate. with underlying a bot. So this is something like, the kind of presenting how channel data is being incorporated with an activity type and start communicating with your underlying, the bot frameworks and taking it back to the end user. So let me take you to the kind of demo and through what you will understand that, how uh, the bot can be developed, how you can identify a list of services under the bot categories, and how you can emulate that environment in your on-premise system and test the bot and so on and so forth, and publish the bot back to the Microsoft Cloud Platform. So I'll pull you to the another machine. So in my take you to, just give me a minute. So I'm connecting to a virtual machines that is on Microsoft Cloud, and I'll go and open my Microsoft Azure subscription first. And then I'll go to the Microsoft Azure portal with my subscription. So I just go and create a dashboard, something like, so I go to my all service. These are the list of service. You can see the list of services from Microsoft Cloud Platforms. That is Microsoft Azure, but I want to go to AI and machine learning, and you get the bot service. Here you are. Or I can go to the web. They are also, you are going to get the bot related stuff out there also, but so we need to go bring into the resource. Like here we can say a bot web app. So why I'm taking it rather than working with the bot service, I want to go with the web app bot. So essentially what I'm saying, so this would be a complete application that would be hosted right on the cloud, which basically implicitly use the bot. So this application would be hosted right on the Microsoft Cloud Platform, and then, and you are going to select the template from this service and what kind of bot that you want to develop. Like for example, I go and create this. So I can give a name of the bot, maybe how I want to call that bot. I can say my sample. So that is the name, bot handler. And then I pick up my subscription under which I'm developing this bot based web app. I'll go and create a new group. And I put this application somewhere in the East US data center, the region. And I can go with one of the pricing tier, because everything that I consume from the Microsoft Azure, we have to pay at the end of the day, but it is based on what kind of pricing tier that you have select, because there are different costs associated with those tier. So I select the free because this is free of cost, that I can actually do the testing, or maybe I can do some kind of POC in context of bot on Microsoft Cloud Platform. So if I go to a template, like if I say, so there may be a two, in the beginning, I said I can develop a bot either in the C# SDK with the Node.js, what I was discussing right from the PPT. So here we can see, I can select the SDK language. So I go with the default, that is C#, and there may be a basic bot or maybe an eco bot, right? So this is the two template at this moment that we can see right after. So I'll go with the default, that eco bot. Eco bot is basically whatever I'm going to talk to the bot, bot is going to reply the same. Right. So if I go with that, okay. And then I go with something like, working with application ID. Basically, they would be automatically assign an application ID and a password if somebody wants to consume this particular bot applications from some other application, or maybe as a service from LOB and so on and so forth. They can always do that. But yes, the bot will always have an embedded credentials, like, the application ID as well as the password. In some time from now, we can see that password and we can go ahead and make use of that password and application ID in order to consume that bot from the on-premise emulator. But this is fine. So we go with this with the default one. So it will take maybe a 2 to 3 minutes to complete. In the meantime, I'll go and get my local development. That would be a Visual Studio, the bot framework that I was talking about on the on-premise. So from here also, I can go and create, because this is something that I am doing it from the cloud. And the same thing, I can do it from the on-premise with my dev environment. So, but you need to install the framework that we are talking about, Microsoft Bot Development Framework. So my system is already installed with the Bot Development Framework from the Microsoft. You can download freely from the Microsoft repository. And you can do that. So, okay, so the bot from the Microsoft Azure got created. So let me go there first. So this is the bot web app. So I can step in there. And so you can see that how this entire bot can be developed, getting started with the bot framework on Microsoft Cloud Platform. So you can say plan and build and test and publish and connect to a channels. The channels that we are talking about, maybe a WhatsApp or maybe Facebook or maybe something else, whatever the channel at this moment supported by the bot, and then evaluate by capturing different telemetries from the bot to understand how your bot is performing any given point in time. So that is a detail about the bot that you can see. But at the same time, if I go to a kind of, the bot management, if you go to the settings out there, so you can see that this is the display name that I have given, and there would be a app ID. So let me copy this app ID into my notepad, because if I want to call this bot from somewhere else, I need the app ID of the bot that I have deployed. So I just go to a notepad from the settings. So that is my bot application ID. And then I can go and, so this is something like, maybe we can add more settings out there. So one by one, we can go and talk about authentications and other stuff also. But yes, at this moment, this is fine that ID would be used, or I can go and click on manage. Here we can create my own password also. So I can say, I can create the test password, something like this. I go with that, creating a password, and I copy this password. Also, I paste it somewhere here, and that is my secret to access this bot applications from outside of Microsoft Azure any given point in time. But before I call it, or before I start developing, or before I go and kind of make it more robust, so I can test it by just selecting options right from the bot, the canvas itself. So that is something that you can see. So let me go back to my bot again. So here is an overview. So we come back to this, closing out there. So we can test it quickly, that whether my bot is working or not. So here is a kind of canvas that is being given to me. So the bot has welcomed me the moment I open that canvas. Now, if I say, so you can see that since it was an echo bot, because my turn or my activity, I'm changing as a text, as a message back to the bot, and bot has replied me the same thing because it was something to do with the echo. So just to getting, because here we cannot build that bot, from top to bottom, but here just to get a fair idea how bot is responding based on the template that I have selected in the beginning while I was creating the bot. Right. So what is the underlying, kind of the code that you are looking for? So how the bot, that code is being developed implicitly by Microsoft Cloud Platform. So you can download the source code, or you can get the emulators to run that source code practically on your laptop or your desktop anytime from now, or maybe interacting with this bot, a command line tool. So these are, things. So suppose I just wanted to go and download the source code of this particular bot just now we have created. So we go and download that source code, creating the zip, and then finally it will download that. So all the code that goes inside the bot is going to go and sort of, come back to my system. So it's a download the source code. So it is there with me. So I'll come back to the source code after some time. So let it be with me. So now I'll go to my development environment. So how I can develop a bot locally from my system, not going to the Microsoft Cloud environment, because here I am in the Microsoft Cloud environment, because you need a subscription to get in there. Either you can go with the free subscription for 30 days, or you have to go with the pay as you go. You have to buy subscriptions to make use of those services. So that would be a different context altogether going with the Microsoft Azure, because I do have my subscription. So I took you through my subscription and creating my service. But if I do not have that subscription, I can still go and create a bot. I can still go and test the bot locally on my system. So how do we do that? By using the bot framework. So if I install the bot framework on my system, I can go and say, okay, let me go and create a new project. So if I go to the Visual Studio 2019 and I look for a project template like bot, so I pick up the bot. So it give me a templates. You can see that there's a bot like, so it's a core bot with something like the version of the frameworks and something like this. So here also you get to see there's a bot kind of eco bot. Also you are going to see empty sort of things, So all those things that you see. So if I type, so particularly if you want to go with the eco bot, so I can go and get it. So here I'm going with something like .NET, maybe one of that, the framework that we can take it. So let's go one of them and say, okay, let me go with that. So create that one. I go with the sample EcoBot. This is a template that I got from my Visual Studio. And it goes into a default folder. This is perfectly fine. And I go and create this. Say, let me go and so I'm right there in the Visual Studio. So, and I can see my solution explorer. So this is the source code of the bot template, the EcoBot template that I brought up from my the Visual Studio template. Means once you have installed the framework, the template will be available in that development environment. So I don't want to walk you through because it will again at time, but you know, the what is the name of the bot and little bit of bot SDK that you can see that, you know. So they said, I was talking about something called activities. You know, the activity is not about, you know, how you're going to go and communicate with the underlying user. So if on member added, so it said any member is going to come and start the conversation with the bot, I'm going to give a welcome message as an activities for a particular member. And this is something the activity will take care of, what we have discussed in the beginning. So this is a little bit of code. Is a two method that we can see. So on message activity async. So when the message would be typed, what would be the reply that the bot is going to give it to the end user? That's number one. But whenever the first time the people come into the bot, how the bot is going to greet that person, greet that individual. He said, hello and welcome. So you can go and do whatever you want to do to begin with. But this is the framework that you can see, which is being derived from a particular activity handler. That is the handler name that we have given at the time of creating bot on the cloud or something like this. So that would be a name. So we can go and change the name and so on and so forth. So what is done? Because, you know, you can see that these are the SDK. You can say using Microsoft bot.builders or using Microsoft bot.schema and so on and so forth. But yes, it's a quick introductions of an EcoBot. Now, suppose without changing anything at this moment, I would like to run this with a default. We have controller and all these things to communicate with, you know, the underlying services, adapter to make use of the bot and so on and so forth. But yes, we go and sort of run this locally on my local, because it's a web application, which is basically going with the bot under that application. So it will run locally. So here it is IIS Express that is being initiated by. Now, in order to test the bot, because this is just a bot application is up and running, but we need to test the bot, whether bot EcoBot is working fine or not, how we have tested on the cloud, the same way I want to test on the on-premise on my system. Then we talk about the emulators. So here is the emulators. Let me run the emulators out there. Run as an administrator. Now, in order to communicate with the bot, it said you can test your bot. Here we are saying you can test your bot. You know, this is what the startup screen is talking about. You can test your bot in the bot emulators by connecting with this particular URI. So that is your URI. And because this is URI, basically, if you are working with some kind of MVC, I'll tell you that quickly how it is going to be. Like if you go to the controller, you see this is the root in order to access the method from the controller. So you are actually going and typing that root API messages. So we'll get you to one of the action so that you can start posting your queries or start asking questions to the bot. And through an adapter, bot will start communicating a turn, an activity with a value or a message will start exchanging between the bot and the underlying the user. So this is exactly what we get right here. This is what we say this, the current applications and the path, or maybe, kind of URI to get access to a particular method in order to communicate with the underlying adapters to bot. So my emulator is up and running. This is a welcome screen. So I'll update later on, not now. So what I'm going to do first, I will create the configurations. I said, okay, this is my test echo bot, and I'll paste this URL. Now you remember that, if I want to connect a bot from the cloud, I can go and paste the application ID that I have copied and the password that I have copied sometime back. I can make use of this. So it means your local emulators will redirect me to the cloud, and in order to run that cloud, the bot applications which is up and running there. But you can test it from this emulator by setting up the Microsoft app ID as well as the password. But I want to go with that without that because we are just doing it for an emulator testing. So I go and save it. I said EcoBot. So we are going to get the same kind of, the welcome message, what we got on the cloud, sometime back. You can see that this is the same, the welcome message, what we get. So now, I can start saying, okay, hello bot. So this is give me an echo message back. And this is something that if you go and click on that, this is what the JSONs that I was talking about. This is the JSON way, all the communications in a form of key value pair, putting in a JSON, this is being exchanged between the bot and underlying canvas from where we are, trying to interact with the bot. So that is something, so there are multiple user can come any given point in time, restart the conversation as a new user. You can do the state of an user. Suppose you go and give your name to the bot, and next time when you come back to the bot, and bot will greet you because the bot know who you are, because the bot has recorded your name last time when you uh, visited the bot canvas or interact with the bot application. So there are many things, so going forward. So state management in the bot, or maybe working with the dialogues and, interacting with the menu driven kind of UI and so on and so forth. So ultimately it will be begin by developing, all code will go there here itself. So in the meantime, what we have downloaded, so let me go back and see that what we have downloaded there. So if I go back and, just see the code that I have downloaded, I'm going to get the same code that I'm developing right locally from the Visual Studio. I can open the code in my Visual Studio. I'm going to get the same identical code that I am currently working. So I have got two options. Either I can go and deploy this bot right there on the cloud, so that become a service to me, and all the management for this particular bot application would be done by Microsoft any given point in time. But if I go back to my on-premise stuff, what I'm doing it, so I can open it, I can emulate it, or I can deploy or associate it with my on-premise applications any given point in time. But the primary focus would be going ahead would be the Microsoft Azure. Because why Microsoft Azure? Because the Azure is not going to give you a kind of bot service, what we are talking about, the bot web app, what we are talking about, but we can really go and integrate with multiple service. Like for example, if I'm talking about sort of, something called a Q&A maker. So Q&A maker is a cloud-based API service that could be integrated with the bot going forward. So there may be a Luis, there may be something else. So all relevant services, as I said in the beginning, would be available next to you. So if you want to consume those services right from your bot application that you are developing using the cloud platform, it become robust going forward. It become more, the meaningful to the end user, because you can increase the productivity of the bot any given point in time going forward. So today's this sessions, I just need to talk about only these two things: the Microsoft bot frameworks, how we can utilize that framework to develop bot locally on premise using an ID, or at the same time how we can go and do things the same thing right on the cloud as a service, not as just a traditional standalone application that we talked about through the Visual Studio. And in fact, any point in time, if I'm thinking of getting this application and published to the Azure, I can always go and do that. You can see that we have to figure out, where I want to go and publish this. So you can right click, and one click will take this application back to the cloud. And whatever I have done before on the cloud, the same thing that we can see. So these are seamless integrations between your on-premise development environment and the cloud is really, really significant going forward. And it will enhance the productivity among the developer. And that is the message that I want to bring into this forum going forward. So having said that, so there would be a kind of a subsequent sessions, then we will be doing a deep dive and working with a lot of component along with the bot, and working with the different the framework components, make your bot more robust, and connecting with the cognitive service, as I said in the beginning, or connecting with the Q&A makers, and so on and so forth. So idea is that at the end of the day, how you can make your bot really robust, and how you can really help the enterprise by infusing that intelligence in the first level communications that is going to happen to the end user and to a end customer. Okay, so that's it from my end today, and I'll be ending the session. So if you have any questions going forward, you can post your questions, and we'll be discussing. And hope the glimpse of the bot framework will definitely leave you with a thought that you can go back and start exploring, and how you should go into this kind of development environment, and how you quickly get onto the bot development. But it's really, really easy with some prerequisite knowledge that you have to have in the Node.js or a .NET, either one of them. You can take as a development language and the tools going forward. So thank you all of you, and over to the host.
Thanks a lot, Navajyoti, for all those amazing insights. And I'm very sure our viewers out there would have found it very informative as well. So now we are moving on to Q&A. So we have one question from Sri Suram. Yeah. Navajyoti, can you see the questions, or shall I send it to you? It's in
No,
the...
I'm just going through only that is
Oh,
what.
all right, all right. Okay, okay.
Okay, so this is something that I will be because this is a different tool that still I need to explore the tools. So what has asked by Siram, so I can get back to this maybe through my mail only. Sira,
All right. So,
using NLP.
all right. So we have one more question over our YouTube. Uh, that is, can we use this bot but upload the web app on the other server? I'll just drop in the Zoom chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yes, why not? Because ultimately it would be a As long as your framework to run that bot applications in any server, you can do that. Yes. Yes, I can see that question.
Do we have any other
Other
questions?
also, you said how to handle an error. Yes, there would be a class, error handler class, so like, you can log those error by using an SDK only. Yes, that is the exception handling or a error handling log. You can feed it into an Azure storage and you can navigate through those error. Yes. As of now, not Java. No, I'm talking about Microsoft Bot Framework. At this moment, the two language.
Also, we have one more question from Ranjan, I guess.
Yeah. Yes. So here it says, can you elaborate the type of bot we have in Azure, and can the Azure provide the task-oriented dialogue? Yes, it is. It can. Task-oriented dialogue can be used in the Azure bot, what we are talking about. Yes. The dialogue is always definitely going with. Yeah.
All right. So I don't think we have more questions now. I'll just check the YouTube channel too once.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we're good to go. Uh, so thanks a lot, Navajyoti. Now we have one of our teams who were winners at one of our hack nights, Team Cryptors. So they'll be just telling about what did they build at the hackathon and how was their experience with Azure. So I'll just hand it over to Jayesh. Just a second. I'll just. So yeah, I guess the team has some technical issues and they weren't like they're not able to join now. So yeah, I guess that's all. So thanks a lot everyone for joining. And like we mentioned, this is a series of webinar, and the next webinar would be on how to build a custom ML model using Azure ML Studio, which would be on 18th of June. So you can join us for that webinar too. Also, like if you have any questions or stuff, you can just drop in here, and Navjot can answer it maybe.
Yeah, somebody has asked about the emulators. I have given the URL that they can download the emulators right now.
Okay. All right. All right. Then thanks a lot, Navajyoti, and thanks a lot everyone for attending too. So,
All right. Thank you.
all right. All right. Thanks a lot, Navajyoti.